Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare. So, Hare Krishna, everyone. So today I'll be giving. I won't exactly be taking pastimes of Krishna. I'll be talking about our beloved Guru Maharaj, that is His Holiness Jagadaka Swami Maharaj. As everyone knows that he is in a very critical condition right now. In fact, he's in Bangalore. He is admitted in Apollo Hospital, and you know how so many Maharajas are coming to our temple, visiting him, and it's a very critical. So I will, we'll all just pray for him, right? And I thought I'll just take this opportunity to just talk about his pastime and brief up about this book called From Milwaukee to Mayapur. That is basically his biography written by Stephen J. Rosen. So, yes, I will start. So, His Holiness Jagadaka Swami Maharaj, his name, his birth name was John Gordon Erdman, and he was born on the 9th of April 1949 in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And Jagadaka Swami Maharaj's dad was already a very spiritual person in nature. He obviously didn't like a lot of cruelty and a lot of violence. And since it was very mandatory for everyone in that country to be a part of the military, he, his dad, his father, joined the military as a healer, as somewhat a therapist who can talk to the other military people and heal them internally, right? And Jagadaka Swami Maharaj's grandfather was he had a very big business. Now, how their family had progressed in business was they started from like a carpenter and very small wages to a very big business, a paint business that had 66 branches all over the U.S. and he had 13 sons and daughters, right? One of them being Jagadaka Swami Maharaj's dad, father. Now, now the business was very big. His grandfather's business was very big at that time. That people literally bought tickets to see his house during Easter and Christmas because he had a very big mansion. He had like a pool table, a swimming pool, you know, very grand, luxurious place. So I think he was very well off. He was very wealthy at that. His grandfather was, and but what happened was his parents got separated at the age of 9. He had two siblings, Jeff and Jane, and after that he got one more cousin sister, that is from his new mother. Now he was also very close to his maternal grandfather, who was also very spiritual. And how did he exactly get more spiritually connected or like get an insight to spirituality? Was he had this condition called warts on his skin. It was on his hand, and it's basically like a disease. It's like a non-cancerous, you know, development of cells. So it's basically like blisters on your skin, right? And what happened was all the doctors, and at that time there was not like much medical research about this disease. So he was very confused. Even the doctors were very confused. But his maternal grandfather told him that there's a way to heal this. I will tell you. Just cover one blister at a time and tell that God will heal this one, God will heal this one, and slowly over a period of time, all the warts on his body were completely gone. And he had like it was a very big eye-opening moment for him because he believed in God, he had faith in God, and he saw the results. Now, there was also one more thing that his father, Jagadaka Swami Maharaj's father, had a birthmark that went from his shoulder all the way to his neck and also covered a part of his face. It was a birthmark. And it was a very brutal, it was very, I mean, people obviously would see you with that. Like, for example, even today, if you see someone with like a very visible birthmark on their body, like maybe dual tone color or like a skin disease, anything, if we look at a person, obviously we're going to have that first thought of judgment. So similarly, even his father had a birthmark which made people notice him in a different way. But when they actually approached and talked to him, he was a completely different person. He was a very clean soul. So that also made him realize that how people first perceive the body versus how the person is inside the body, that is a soul. He had a very big realization that the soul and the body are two different entities. Then he also, there were like a lot of other symptoms at an early age, like for example, when his family used to go to the church every Sunday, he used to just run away from the crowd and he used to go to the altar and just, pray loudly to the God. And people used to go searching for him, like, oh my God, where's this boy? And they would see him just going in the corner and just pray to God. And then they would be also surprised that, oh wow, this kid at this age is very, very spiritually connected. So these are the symptoms of spirituality that he had at this young age. And growing up, he was also a very smart child. He was a very, very smart student. He got university in one of the most prestigious universities, that was the Brown University. And he got chemical engineering over there. And obviously, he had great marks and everything. He used to play sports as well. He was really, really good at hunting. I mean, rifle, shooting basically. So he was, I think, nationwide, he was around ranked 11, if I'm not wrong. I'm not sure about that. Then one day in his university, he got a guest lecture, and I think the lady was talking about Buddhism. And he attended the lecture and he was very intrigued. He was very intrusive in nature anyway. So he heard the lecture and he was like, wow, what is Buddhism? He got insights about Buddhism, the culture, where does it originated from, everything. And he was very much interested in knowing all of that. It got him a lot of questions. It had him pondering that, okay, what is after death? What is after life? He started, questioning everything around him. And obviously, because of that, he also failed a few subjects in his university, and finally, the university had to kick him out because they could not keep him. Um, After he was kicked out of the universities, he went around the libraries, he went around the city searching for his answers. He went and read different books about many, many spiritual backgrounds, natures. You know, for example, he again, like for example, Jainism and etc. He read about this particular um, spiritual belief where he found it very, very interesting that it's the power to like connect all the chakras, and he was very interested to meet the author. So he found the address of the author. He went to his house. What happened when he saw there was, when he knocked on the door, there was no one to answer. But when he went to the backside, he saw the author himself. What was he doing? He was cooking fish. Then he was like, oh, like, weren't you the author of this book? You talked about all of this, and weren't you a vegetarian? And he was like, I was a vegetarian, but I stopped following because I'm very packed in my social life. Then he had a realization that yes, a lot of these spiritual backgrounds and beliefs that are already there, the authors or the in these fields, they actually don't have a very good backing. They don't have a very strong belief. It's a very weak idea, right? So after that, he was just passing by again, going through different libraries and books and etc. And now he meets um, devotees. He saw this. He sees this leaflet that comes across, and it was written, chant the name of Hare Krishna. He was very, very intrigued. He was like, what is this? Why are people dancing? Why are people chanting? So he followed the crowd, he followed the devotees, and he went to this center, he went to this place. When he entered inside, he saw a bunch of devotees sitting there, maybe someone eating prashadam, maybe someone chanting. He saw everyone wearing a tilak, and he suddenly got goosebumps. He got frightened, he ran, he was scared. But obviously, after realizing that yes, there is nothing to be scared of, he had like a moment of realization of Krishna's name. He just heard it for the first time. So obviously, he went back, and when he went back, obviously there were a lot of hippies there. This, by the way, this era we're talking about is the era of hippies, where the hippies was just at peak. There were so many hippies in that country, in that place. So when he asked them, oh, where are the devotees? Just here. They were like, oh, they come here every week. You can come here next week. Then they were like, okay, fine. So he waited for another week. And then, so when they finally met him, when he finally met them, he followed them to the center this time, wherever the exact center was. Um, and it was also written on one of the templates. It was actually when Rath Yatra was about to come during that time. So he saw a template of the Yatra coming up. And he also saw in the template, it was written that you can also get vegetarian meals for 25 cents. He was like, oh, he's a vegetarian, he's going to get the prasadam he needs. So he followed along, went to the center, and he had 25 cents. He went to the devotees, he asked them, oh, where can I get the prasadam, where can I get the prasadam? Back and forth. People, because devotees were busy during the Rath Yatra. They were like, oh no, go here, go to this Prabhu, go to that Prabhu. He finally landed upon Gargamuni, Prabhuji, and he told him that yes, and Gargamuni is basically, he's also known as Garga Money because he is very, very, good with these tactics of getting, you know, financial, like the money and using it for Krishna consciousness, basically accepting a lot of donation. So when Jayapataka Swami Maharaj came to him, he immediately took the money, 25 cents, and he's like, yes, please follow me to the Prasadam hall. He took the Prasadam. He also gave him the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. And he was very excited. He was like, oh wow, I have a book to read, another book to read, so of course he will read it. And after the Prasadam, he also saw this, this structure being built, near the Prasadam hall. And who was helping build the Rath was Jayananda Prabhu at that time. So he went and he asked them, oh, what is this? What are you doing? Then Jayananda Prabhu told that, yes, we're trying to build this. He showed this picture that they've built. That is a Rath. And they're like, oh, yeah, this should take about 2 years. And Jayananda Prabhu told, no, not 2 years. It should be done in 2 weeks. That's what Srila Prabhupada has told. Now, obviously he was confused. He was like, oh, who is His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada? So that's when he connected all the dots. The Srimad Bhagavatam, all the books that he's been reading, and who actually runs the center is His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada, right? Now, since he's getting introduced to all of this new concept, um, Prabhupada's secretary, like when he was helping Jananda Prabhu do the Rath as well, he used to help him every day, for a few hours, since he was very interested anyways. And one day, Prabhupada's secretary himself came to him. He's like, oh, what are you doing here? I think you should chant for some time. And he gave him beads to chant. Now, when Shaipadaka Swami Maharaj got the beads, he started doing one round. Like people told him how to chant, he did one round. He did 2 rounds. He had a roller coaster of emotions when he did his first round. Because of that, he went 2 rounds, 4 rounds, 8, 16, and 32 rounds in just the first time of him chanting. And he was crying, and he was going through all sorts of emotions, and he was just closing his eyes and saying goosebumps, you know. It's a very, very, it was a very new. Later on, we realized that Prabhupada's secretary comes back to him, and he's like, oh, I'm sorry, I actually gave you Prabhupada's bead to chant on. And then he took the beads back and he gave him the normal beads. And that was a way of Srila Prabhupada himself blessing Guru Maharaj, by giving his own chanting beads. You can imagine how powerful that must be, right? Now, obviously, when he chanted and he got to know and he had a huge realization, he wanted to meet Prabhupada, but he was in Montreal. Now, he traveled from San Francisco to New York to the first center that was in the 26th 2nd Avenue in New York. He went to Montreal, where Prabhupada was there. And when Bhaktivinoda Thakur introduced him to Montreal was actually the place where Bhaktivinoda Thakur actually sent the first book of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in 1896 in the University of McGill. That was actually the same year, 1896, when Srila Prabhupada actually had the appearance. And ironically, 70 years later, this exact same place where the first book was given, Srila Prabhupada actually had the first movement there itself. Um, And then when Guru Maharaj went to Montreal, he saw Srila Prabhupada for the first time. And as I mentioned, that he was learning many spiritual backgrounds earlier. He knew how to maybe read chakras, read people, and he was very, very, you know, he had a very strong um, emotional connection. He could judge people before even talking to them. He was very strong in those kind of words to say. When he saw Srila Prabhupada for the first time, he saw aura. He literally saw yellow color lights, white color lights shining and going, all around Srila Prabhupada. And he was just flabbergasted. He was like, who is this person? I want to talk to him. I want to, he paid his obeisances, obviously. And Gargamuni obviously introduces Srila Prabhupada to Bhakta Jaya. And when Srila Prabhupada saw him, he was like, fix a lunch appointment with him tomorrow, Prasadam appointment with him tomorrow. And it's written in the book as well that Guru Maharaj still remembers the meal that he had with Srila Prabhupada. It was curry, curd, cauliflower pakoras, and rice. And it was a very life changing moment for him. Right? And he obviously surrendered. When he talked to Srila Prabhupada that day, he completely surrendered to him. And 2 weeks later, he got his initiation on the 24th of July, 1968, and he finally became His Grace Jayapataka Das. What does Jayapataka mean? Is the victory flag of Krishna. That's what Srila Prabhupada gave him the name. He then became the temple president of Montreal. He obviously had to run the temple and he had a lot of financial burden. He became the welder, he went to cafes, he worked a lot, he fought a lot, he did all these small jobs, got some wages. And he was also going to this club where he was literally picking up leftover meat, eaten by all the people there. And when people obviously found out about that, all the devotees found out about that, they told this to Srila Prabhupada, oh my god, he is coming in contact with meat and everything. So when Srila Prabhupada got to know about this, he clearly mentioned, if you pay for someone who's eating meat, if you yourself eat meat, that is a sin. But if you're clearing up the meat after someone has eaten it, that is not a sin. There's a very thin line. Now, obviously, Jayapataka Goswami Maharaj was a very good learner and a reader. He read a lot of books. Srila Prabhupada gave him actually one of the books where he read that chanting loudly actually completely shuts off all the thoughts in your head. And that's what he did. He quite literally took it and chanting as loud as he could, where his lungs were like literally on the verge of bursting. He was chanting so loud that all the devotees in the temple, they were like, what is he doing? And then he could compare to Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada was like, you're absolutely right, you should do that, but do it somewhere else, do it in a garden. So, these things that when you read something in a book, you are actually supposed to apply it in real life. That's what this is very big learning. So, and he continued his chanting. He went to a garden, morning, evening, and he chanted as loud as he could in the garden. Now, he always wanted to go to India as well. And, he asked Srila Prabhupada that, can I please go to, India? And before going to India, he actually went to Chicago with Radhanath Swami Maharaj. And when he went to Chicago, they both were driving. Jayapataka Swami Maharaj was driving this time. He was underage, he did not have the license. He did not have the license. But when they were going, they met with a small accident. Their car slipped. It went to the gravel and it kind of just, maneuvered somewhere. And when the car crashed, Jayapataka Swami Maharaj was like, I think I have a great realization that when I was actually about to die, I thought of Krishna. He was actually not thinking about anyone except Krishna. Now, after the Chicago incident, he went to Colorado, where he was a senior devotee. Even though he was in the Krishna consciousness movement for 1 year, he was considered a senior devotee there because all the devotees there were only, being practicing Krishna consciousness for the last few months. So he taught them a few more things. He taught the Matajis there how to wear a sari by himself, putting on a sari, learning from others. He knew how to put on a sari, so he himself put on a sari and showed Matajis this is how played the sari and everything, and this is how you tie it around, all that. He finally entered India in 1970 in Kolkata when Srila Prabhupada gave him the orders. Now, his first and second Diksha, he asked Srila Prabhupada. And one of the biggest takeaway from this book was the first and second Diksha, you can ask your Guru. You can ask, your Guru. But your third Diksha, that is the sannyas, you cannot ask your Guru. The Guru actually has to come to you and has to, when he knows that you are ready for taking sannyas, then he's going to give you the third Diksha. And so September 10th, 1970, on Radhashtami, Guru Maharaj took sannyas under Srila Prabhupada. He was the 11th appointed um, sannyas from Srila Prabhupada. At 21 years of age, he finally became His Holiness Jayapataka Swami Maharaj. And he was in charge of Mayapur, helping Mayapur build from scratch. That was the real challenge. In these days, 21 years old right now, they're studying, they go to college, etc. But there, he was literally building a temple from scratch. All the work done, cooking, cleaning, getting dishes, driving. Everything was done by him and maybe a team member of 5 to 6 devotees. He was removed from the president of Kolkata 11 times. And 11th time, ironically being by Srila Prabhupada himself, because when Srila Prabhupada told that you have to save money, he again literally quite literally took that on his chest. He was like, one devotee had to go get something from the market. He was like, Jayapataka Swami Maharaj was like, I'll give you 25 paise. He was like, no, give me 1 rupee because I want to travel by a car. He's like, no, you have to take 25 paise, go by bus. They both fought. Now the devotee got a little aggressive. He also, they got in a small fight. They pushed around a little bit, and the devotee actually bit Jayapataka Swami Maharaj on his hand. The hand mark was there for around 11 years. But when this news went to Srila Prabhupada, he told that please don't get involved in all of this. I think you should stop being the president of the temple. And he was retired from there. Then happened another flood in 1971. And that gave birth to Food for Life. That even is being followed today by ISKCON. Giving food to everyone within a radius of 4 kilometers. So obviously, all of these challenges, all of these missions that were happening, ISKCON gained recognition, and a big part of it was because of His Holiness Jayapataka Swami Maharaj. And his first preaching was because there was a fight in Mayapur between some devotees and some other localites, and they were all in jail. So Jayapataka Swami Maharaj, he ran from Vrindavan when he was with Srila Prabhupada. He ran back to Mayapur. And he was like, oh, whatever's happened here, I will serve prasadam. And he served prasadam to everyone in the jail. And he started preaching there as well. And slowly, from the jail, it became, he started preaching everywhere around the jail, the nearby areas, and slowly to Chennai, etc. And this became, the GBC. And soon enough, disappearance day of Srila Prabhupada came, where he was very, very sad. He literally a few days ago got a letter from Srila Prabhupada, and he was like, he was given a work to do. He slept that night and he woke up the next day, read the newspaper, and Srila Prabhupada has left his body. And he was appointed as the leader of GBC. And, he was very shattered, he couldn't take it, but at the same time, he remembered the mission that he had to give Diksha to 50,000 devotees, build the Mayapur temple. He had that in mind. And even today, he has given Diksha to around 50 or 52,000 devotees. And the Mayapur temple is still about to be done now. But you can see the struggle. In 2008, he, in Mumbai, he had a stroke, a very bad stroke. And because of that, he went into semi paralysis. He went through kidney liver transplant, he went through COVID, he went through blood transfusion, which was also contaminated by hepatitis C, by the way, which was in 2008. And because of that, 2018, he again had a stroke. You can see from 2008, even till today, he's been having strokes and he's been paralyzed, he's been going through a lot of diseases and everything else. He's still fighting today, right now in Apollo Hospital in Bangalore. He's still paralyzed and he's still fighting because that's how much the mission of Srila Prabhupada means to him. Also, there was one more thing. In Spain, I think it's a very, very famous pastime. In Spain, Madrid, he was at the airport, stabbed from behind by someone random, and they were when he got stabbed, he was again in the hospital. He was bleeding, and when all the devotees got the person who stabbed him, he just completely left him. He didn't do anything, and he just forgave him. Right? There were also rumors that this ISKCON is a cult. Oh, they do all of this killing and whatnot, and they do all this performative activities. That made ISKCON look like a cult. But that day, right after he came out of the hospital, he straight went to the media and he confirmed that they are not a cult. He did not know that person. He was not related to ISKCON. And actually, from that day onwards, ISKCON being a cult had actually been majorly removed. So yeah, that was also one. And yes, even today, 19th of August 2026, it's been almost 20 years. He's been fighting. He's been, you know, giving Diksha to the devotees. He's been helping build the whole Mayapur temple, going around the world preaching, doing so much seva, and I think it's a very personally it was a very big learning for me as well, learning about his pastimes, and I think we should just pray for his well-being and hope he gets better soon. So yes, that's it. That's it, Prabhuji. Okay, Hare Krishna.